You know, it's that time of year again, to clear all that annoying dry brush from around your house. In the event of a fire, dry brush is extremely combustible and can explode. By clearing brush 200 feet from your
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Los Angeles City Council meeting for Friday, the 23rd of April, 2010. We're here in room 340 of City Hall, known as the John Ferraro Council Chamber, and I'd like to welcome members of the public who are here with us in person. One of the 4 ways you can catch council meetings. You also can go to our Van Nuys and San Pedro remote locations to testify and or watch the council meetings. You can watch us on Channel 35 throughout the city's cable system, which broadcasts these meetings live. We broadcast them each evening. You can go to the internet and navigate your browser to the URL www.lacity.org and click on the links to catch live streaming webcasts of these council meetings. We also archive past footage of our council meetings there as well. And finally, if you're not close to City Hall, San Pedro, Van Nuys, a computer or a television, you can always use your trusty phone and call in and listen into the audio proceedings of our council meeting or any of our committee meetings. That is called Council Phone, and the telephone number is 213-621-CITY. That's 213-621-CITY. I want to thank those council members who are here pursuant to council rules on time. Those are council members Alarcon, Krikorian, Koretz, Labange, Parks, Perry, Rosendahl. We are awaiting Mr. Reyes, Mr. Smith, and Mr. Wesson. We need 10 members to constitute a quorum of 2/3 of our members to begin the meeting. Each Friday, however, we do have a number of presentations to mark important dates, to recognize organizations and people who are making a difference here in Los Angeles. And today is no different. We've got some great folks that are here. I know we've got the Santee debate team in the house. I know we've got NAACP. We've got Polish Film Festival and remembrance of the Armenian Genocide, as well as scholarship recipients from the Bernardi Scholarships that are all here. So we look forward to seeing those presentations. Again, we'd like to ask those members who are still outside the chambers to make their way as soon as possible. That's Council Members Krikorian, Reyes, Smith, and Wesson. Mr. Cardenas, Ms. Hahn, and Mr. Weezar are excused for this meeting, and Mr. Zine is excused to arrive a little bit late. So we will begin our presentations momentarily. Thank you. All right, for our first presentation, I'd like to recognize from the 4th Council District, Councilmember Tom Labange, who's making a presentation today on the Polish Film Festival. Welcome, Mr. Labange.
Thank you very much. Good members of the council. Today, first and foremost, let us remember those victims of the tragedy of the air crash that took 96 lives.
96 is this
and the President and First Lady of Poland, who is here. As we remember them, we also remember that every day is a new day and every day is a blessing. We are blessed with a great number of Poles, Polish Americans who live in Los Angeles, who contribute greatly to our community. The Polish Film Festival is a very special festival that is ongoing at this point here. I wish to acknowledge at this point here, that it's very important that we understand the long history of sharing the talents of arts and sciences in the world. And this is a volunteer-run organization, and now in its 11th year showcasing their country's talent in movie making and cinematography right here in Los Angeles. It's very important that this festival go forward with even the horrific tragedy that took place, also the climatic tragedy of inconvenience only of the volcano of Iceland that brings us all together here, that we start this film festival at the Egyptian Theater as well as Lemley Fives. Every year the festival, along with the Council General of Poland, presents a friend of Poland to award an American citizen who has helped in the development of Polish-American relations, and specifically in the population of Polish culture, science, and general promotion of the Poland in America. We have a very special awardee at this time. And Sergeant, is the Sergeant here? Sergeant of Arms, please. Sergeant, would you escort Council Member Bill Rosendahl right now, right here? Mr. Rosendahl is being honored this morning, and I also want to ask that we have a representative of the Council General who is here. Our Council General, Joanna Kushid-Garazzi, is not with us this morning, but her very special deputy who is here with us this morning, and I may ask for you to help with my, as I say, my name is Tom Labange, but you can call me Labanji before I mess that up again. Please help me.
Thank you. I do appreciate that. Mr. Rosendahl, that's my huge pleasure and my huge privilege to thank you very much for all the things you've done to the Polish community during these years.
If you don't mind getting a little closer to the microphone so we can hear you.
I know that you have been a great support to the Polish community, not only Polish Film Festival, but to all of us here in Los Angeles and in California. And this is, as I said, my pleasure and huge honor to present you with this award, which is called Amicus Polonia, Friend of Poland. And this award is for an outstanding effort to promote development and cooperation between the Republic of Poland and the United States of America. This award is presented to you by the Ambassador of Poland, Robert Kupiecki.
Wow.
And here it is.
Oh, golly, look at that.
And that's a diploma. And as you're a great supporter to the Polish Film Festival and the Polish movie industry, I would like to present this special album, which are Polish film posters. I hope you enjoy it.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And this is Molu Zazmazub, who's the deputy of culture, and it's so special that you're here with us on this year. Mr. Rosendahl, for some remarks.
Thank you. Thank you. First, I just want to give the Polish people my deepest sympathy for the loss of their leadership in the most recent moment. We all know all we have is the moment, and these were incredible leaders of a very great nation, and please, my deepest sympathy for the losses that just took place. It's an honor for me to receive this honor. Thank you very much.
What would you join me for a moment? Liz Smagala is going to speak briefly on the festival and the activities and introduce our special guest.
Hi everyone, my name is Liz Smagala. I am the president of the board of directors of the Polish-American Film Society. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and every year we put on the Polish Film Festival right here in Los Angeles. Our events take place entirely in the city of Los Angeles. We show our movies at Laemmle Sunset 5 and this year also at the Egyptian. It has been a very difficult time for us, and we really appreciate and thank you for this recognition. We kind of had to dig deep, as Polish people have throughout time, to keep going in the wake of what happened. And we did it. We had some setbacks with the festival. The volcano certainly didn't help. But we're here. We're showing our movies. We'd like to invite you all to join us, especially tonight at 8:30 at Laemmle Sunset 5. We are showing Andrzej Wajda's Katyn, a movie that will kind of help you understand the historical significance of what happened in Katyn and why the plane crash is that much more tragic for our people. But again, our festival went on. We're going to be showing movies until May 2nd. More information can be found at polishfilmla.org. And I'd like to introduce our festival director, Władek Juszkiewicz, to say a few words. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for having us here. And as we say, this is Polish Film Festival, but not Polish subject is shown on the festival. We're trying to cross borders to a different community, and this year we're screening films which talk about Korea, about Pakistan, and so we're collaborating with those community as long with. For the opening, we had a subject of Jews, and we have a gay subject, so we're trying to feel that we are fitting in this melting pot of Los Angeles. And thank you very much for having us here. Thank you.
Okay, and Mr. President, members, we all say dziękuję. Thank you in Polish. Let's hear it for the film festival.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Like to next recognize Mr. Rosendahl for our next presentation. Oh, and Mr. Kretz, while we're waiting, Mr. Rosendahl, I know you have some students that are here to acknowledge as you approach the podium. Go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to acknowledge Ms. Schulman's class in the third grade at Warner Elementary School. So they're here to watch what we do, and I'd like to give them a round of applause.
There you are on TV. Go ahead and wave. All the yellow shirts. All right. There you go. If your parents have cable, you can watch yourself tonight. I'm sorry if they have dish or satellite. Mr. Rosendahl.
Well, we're moving as fast as we can here, folks. You know, they were just honoring me, but I really honor everyone that creates films and television right here in Los Angeles, creates jobs, is the reason why we are LA. And we're LA because keeping Hollywood at home is what we've been saying. Mr. Alarcon, of course, has been an incredible leader. Mr. Garcetti, words can't even talk about how much you've provided. You've done a great job on this, and we just decided, some of us, Mr. Alarcon's coming over now because he and I are doing this, but Mr. Garcetti, you should be standing, Mr. Labange, and the rest of the council colleagues, Mr. Wesson over there, because it's been a citywide effort. For the last few years, at least as long as I've been around in government, which is only a few years, 4 or 5 years, that when we saw Ugly Betty going back east, I was chair of public works, so I said, wait a minute, what's going on here? What's the problem in Los Angeles? Well, you know, we got to work out whatever issues we have, and we have to keep filming in LA. 40 states now are doing filming. It's all over the world. But, you know, we're sunny Southern California, where the industry's roots are, and we want to keep filming here, and we want to thank some of the folks that have stayed here and have kept it together. I mean, it is what our city is all about. And, you know, I want to just do a shout-out to Jerry Miller and John Wickham and David Hirano, who have continued to fight and work hard for this issue. I'd like to introduce Michael Robin. Where's Michael? Come over here, Michael. Thank you very much. Has worked on episode television for 15 years. He's a partner with Greer Shepherd, our next awardee. Some of Robin's award-winning projects as a producer or director are The Closer, Trust Me, LA Law, Civil Wars, and NYPD Blue. Thank you very much for keeping it in LA and doing what you're doing. Here's a little thing here. If you'd like to say a word, please do.
Thank you very much, Councilman. One thing I'd like to say is I'd really like to thank the council for all the work that you're doing to help us keep the stuff here in the state of California. There are 44 states that are armed with tax credits now that are luring work out of the state of California. Thank you to Amy Lemish, who's worked really hard to get us a tax credit here in the state. Thank you, Councilman Alarcon. All of the work that you guys are doing to help in all the little ways really gives us a fighting chance to keep stuff here in Los Angeles. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
My turn?
You're up.
Okay, I also would like to extend thanks to Bill Rosendahl, his staff member, is it Jim Horwitz?
That's Jim Horwitz.
Where's Jim?
Here he is.
Jim here he is. Jim, this actually was Jim's idea, I think, and we want to thank him for for giving us this opportunity to again feature this amazing industry that bolsters our economy in so many ways, particularly in times in rough economic times. So we want to thank him for coming up with this idea. I also said when I was chair of the committee that oversees Film LA that there's something that all of us can do, each and every one of us, and that we should embrace the idea within the context of our own personal districts as well as how it contributes to Los Angeles. So again, I want to say thank you for Bill Rosendahl taking that message to heart and actually doing something about it. And so we want to thank him for that. I get the pleasure of recognizing Greer Shepard. Greer Shepard, who is business partners with Michael Robin, is also very active in making sure that filming stays in Los Angeles. She began her television career in 1989 as the manager of comedy and drama development at Disney TV before joining ABC in 1991 as an associate director. She was promoted to director of a dramatic series in 1993 and then elevated to VP in 1995. During her tenure, she helped develop award-winning shows like Nothing Sacred, The Practice, and she served as producer of Nothing Sacred and Relativity before launching the Shepard-Robin Company. So as the other half of the Shepard-Robin team, I want to take this, it gives me pleasure to present this. She is not here right now. I understand she is within days or weeks maybe of having a baby. So Michael will accept this award on her behalf.
Thank you, Richard, for that. The next award is to Luis D.S. Pizito, who is currently co-president of the local Marvel Studios, where he has produced Iron Man. And Ms. Krikorian has joined us, who's done some great stuff in Sacramento, legislation for the film industry. Thank you for your leadership. Some of Lewis's best-known productions are The Pursuit of Happiness, SWAT, The Glass House, Blast from the Past, The Shadow, and Basic Instincts. From 1988 until today, Lewis has directed and produced 39 films and videos, almost all locally. Carol, come on up and receive the certificate for your husband.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for what you're doing. Thank you, Ray.
I just want to thank you on behalf of my husband. Thank you.
All right. Great.
I'm very pleased to recognize Glenn Gaynor, most importantly because he graduated from Cal State Northridge, where I graduated. He is an executive producer with Screen Gems and recently produced the following films in Southern California: Obsessed, Quarantine, Prom Night, Vacancy, Priest, Death at a Funeral. And I guarantee you all of your kids have seen all of these movies, at least those that are at least teenagers, I would hope. But Glenn is very committed to filming in Los Angeles. He recognizes that there is a sort of bulk rate when you package these things together as a group and get economies of scale in Los Angeles. But more importantly, I want to read a couple of quotes from him because it really reflects the spirit of these awards. He says, "We are committed to reviving the tradition of producing films in LA, where we can draw on a deep pool of talented people who are happy to be working at home. We have a unique support infrastructure in the city, including stages, backlots, equipment, rental companies, labs, and post-production facilities. We don't have writers, directors, and actors under contract today, but we are rebuilding the collaborative spirit." As head of physical production for Screen Gems, he oversaw production of Burlesque, Country Song, Straw Dogs, Easy A, The Roommate, Armored, Stepfather, Lakeview Terrace, which is in my district, the real version, not the film version, First Sunday, and This Christmas. It's my pleasure to present this award to Glenn Gaynor.
Thank you very much. We all know the motion picture industry has been a staple of our community for just about a century. It employs directly about 250,000 men and women, and these are predominantly union jobs. But we all know we have to be competitive. And so long as other states and countries are vying for our community, I think it's important for all of us to do what we can to try to level the playing field. And I thank everybody here. Councilman Alarcon, thank you very much. Thank you for not taking what we have here for granted. Let's keep Hollywood's front yard in its front yard. Thank you very much.
Very good. Very good. I like it. Let's keep it in the front yard and in the backyard, and let's just keep it here in Los Angeles, folks. And we have to thank some special people who've made a difference. Veronica Vowell, where are you, Veronica? Thank you very much. You're on the board of LMGA, and you're the liaison with Film LA. Thank you very much for what you've done. Where's Ed Duffy? All right, Ed, he's clapping there, director of the Teamsters Filming Division and board member of Film LA. Thank you very much. Right behind you is Marilyn Bittner. Take a look at Marilyn with her hat on. She's part of the Location Managers Association. And all location managers, stand up if you're in here. We want to thank you, too, in the back of the room. Okay. Thank you, location managers, very much. In fact, we got to say that one of the issues we face is people in districts saying, oh, there's filming going on and this and that. We have to make it business-friendly, film-friendly. Everybody has to cooperate and work together. And Film LA has been doing that, and they have some great leadership there with Paul Audrey. And also I want to thank Pam Fair. Where are those two? Raise your hands. Great. Thank you very much for what you've been doing. This is just what we need to do. We're in a big budget crisis. We're worrying about revenues and expenditures. I can't think of a better way to make revenue than to have real sustaining jobs in Los Angeles, and so that comes into our budget and makes things happen. Richard.
I also want to recognize some other people that were selected. And by the way, we want to thank the location managers, because they actually were the ones that did the selection process. It wasn't Bill and I that did this. These are people in the industry that know who is truly committed to filming locally. So let us recognize their other awardees. John Favreau, who has tried to do all his projects here. Gary Marshall. Need to say anything about Gary Marshall? We want to thank him for being a tremendous Hollywood supporter. Jerry Bruckheimer, who I actually had the opportunity to meet a couple of years ago in the Hollywood area. Steve Carroll, for insisting that The Office be done at home. Tony Shalhoub, for forcing Monk back to L.A. Kiefer Sutherland, demanding that 24 be done here. And David Duchovny, because he was insistent that the X-File needed to come back to L.A. We want to thank all of these people for their commitment to Los Angeles. And most importantly, again, we want to thank Bill Rosendahl for giving us the opportunity to do this, and again, send the message that L.A. recognizes the value of the film industry. We will continue to work towards efforts to improve their ability to work in Los Angeles and be productive and create jobs in Los Angeles, which is really what it's all about. So again, thanks to all for participating. By allowing us to honor you, you are sending a message that L.A. is the place to film.
And I want to give this to Film LA to give out to the honorees that are not here. They're on locations in the city doing some terrific shoots. So in closing, I want to thank my colleagues for their leadership and support in making this happen, and most importantly, the industry for staying in Los Angeles. Thank you very much. And special thanks to Jim Horowitz. Come over here, Jim. One quick second. Jim Horowitz is an amazing man. He's been on my staff for 5 years. God bless you, Jim, for everything you do.
Thank you.
Okay.
Amy.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you, Madam President.
Our next presentation will be Mr. Garcetti, Council President Garcetti, and Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you very much, Madam President. If we can ask you to join us, please. Thank you. I'm very proud today not only to continue a tradition that this city puts on the record in written form its own affirmation of historical truths about Armenian genocide, but also to join today in co-presenting this with our newest council member and our first Armenian American to serve in these chambers, Paul Krikorian. It is, I think, a moment of pride for the community and also a moment of inspiration of the spirit of the Armenian people, that not only has there been survival, there has been thriving. There has been a building of this great city because of individuals like Paul, who joined us last year as an assembly member, but certainly we welcome his participation. He'll be taking over the presentation in a second, but he has just done a tremendous job as a civil rights activist, as somebody who also continues to speak historical truth to so many lies that we face. We just came down from the Tom Bradley Room, what was for many years the tallest building here in Los Angeles, where we once again affirmed this city's commitment to shining a light on one of the darkest human experiences that has ever existed. 95 years ago, the commencement of Armenian genocide. As I said upstairs, Maya Angelou once wrote that history, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again. The Armenian genocide was conceived and carried out by Ottoman Turkey from 1915 to 1923, resulting in the deportation of nearly 2 million Armenians, of whom 1.5 million men, women, and children were killed, and 500,000 survivors were expelled from their homes. This horrific historical moment took away a homeland of 3,000 years of the Armenian people, the presence in their historic homeland, where they not only brought culture and religion and so much that spread to other lands. I know when we went to Yerevan, to what is now modern-day Armenia, one of the proudest things Armenians would say with a twinkle in their eye is, no matter what it was, it came from here first. And if it didn't come from here, the very best ones are from here, whether it was carpets and tomatoes, whether it was Christianity, the first Christian kingdom was, of course, Armenia, whether it was the culture and the written tradition. It is something that all of human culture owes a great debt of gratitude to. And yet the genocide sought to not only extinguish the people, but that tradition and that culture as well. Well, today we stand here in living testament that it is not. That we, as Los Angeles, sister city to Yerevan and Beirut, a place that is one of the top 3 cities in the world of people of Armenian descent, that we will continue to speak the truth to power. That we will make the connections to the repeating of the genocide that was cited by Hitler when he went after Jews in the Holocaust, Rwandans and Cambodians, and so many who have been subject to what started must end with our recognition of this history. And we call on the federal government, again, to recognize. We have great champions like Adam Schiff, who have taken out of committee resolutions to state this truth every single year. We still have not had one affirmed by the entire Congress and signed by the President that this genocide did occur, even though privately they'll each say, of course it did. We call on them publicly to do so as well. We're joined today by the Armenian Consul General, by 2 of our archbishops. I'll turn it over as well to Paul Krikorian right now, but we thank them for their friendship, for their commitment to this city, and for their recognition. And throughout today and tomorrow there will be recognitions throughout the Southland, and we have with us also today a survivor. But with that, I will turn it over to Paul for the rest of the presentation. But we say in these chambers each year, as loud as we can, that this did happen, and we will never let it happen again.
Thank you, Council President Garcetti. Before we begin the program, I'd like to, it's my privilege and honor to be able to recognize the presence of the Mayor of Los Angeles, Antonio Villaraigosa, who's here with us, and I'd like to offer him the opportunity to offer comments before we begin. Mayor?
Thank you. Thank you, Council President Garcetti, for every year bringing this issue to this august chamber. Thank you, Councilmember Krikorian, for your leadership on this issue. You and I have known each other for a very long time, and I can tell you that when Council President Garcetti talked about your civil rights background, your activism in our community. I'm a testament to it because I've known you probably as long as anybody around this horseshoe, and I want to thank you. Members of the council, distinguished guests, and community leaders, I too stand here as an individual reaffirming my belief in the truth, as a leader who understands the importance of being honest about our past, as a person who always held fast to the notion that those who reject history are condemned to repeat it. For 95 years, many around the world have allowed diplomatic posturing to block recognition of one of the world's most tragic episodes. For 95 years, too many nations and communities have refused to call the mass murder of 1.5 million Armenians during World War I what it was and what it is, a genocide. And the recognition of this fact, the simple act of stating clearly and unequivocally what we already know to be true, is long overdue. As Council President Garcetti and Councilmember Krikorian know, in the state legislature, virtually every year, the legislature unanimously speaks out against the Armenian genocide, calls on the Congress and the President to do the same. Every year, my great friend, Congressmember Schiff, is there speaking out against the genocide, demanding that our Congress and that our President also stand against and call the genocide what it is. And so we engage in this effort because we know that many times the movement to acknowledge our past begins locally. And again, I want to thank the Council for that effort. Now, this campaign for justice has not been easy, and it will continue to test the bounds of our hope and strength. But as the Armenian people have demonstrated the indomitable nature of the human spirit, we shall press on until the truth is spoken in a clear voice. I'm honored here today to pay tribute to Dr. Michael Hakopian, who has dedicated his life to ensuring those voices of truth are heard. And thanks to the work of Dr. Hakopian and the Armenian Film Foundation, the truth about the great crime of 1915 has been told from all corners of the world, in 10 different languages and a wide range of ages. But no matter what language or age, the truth rings loud and clear. The Armenian genocide is not a matter of debate. It is a matter of fact. It is not a matter of politics. It is a matter of principle. In Los Angeles, one of the most diverse cities in the world, and as the Council has said many times, we have the largest population of Armenians outside of Armenia. We have the first Armenian council member in the city of Los Angeles. It speaks to our diversity. It speaks to what I often say, the city that doesn't care who your father was or whether, in my case, you even had one. It is a city that acknowledges our differences and revels in those differences. And in the United States, where respect, tolerance, and dialogue are the cornerstones of our collective success, with each passing day, the failure of our country to formally recognize the truth of the American genocide threatens the integrity of our values and the commitment to freedom, democracy, and the unity that have built this great country. Now, the voices of denial must not be allowed to drown out the cries for truth. On this Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day, let us recommit ourselves to honoring the memory of those who perished with honesty. Let us dedicate ourselves to the mission of full recognition, and let us refocus our attention on our common humanity and no longer betray the promise of never again. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, President Garcetti, and thank you both for your extraordinary leadership on these issues and all issues of humanity and civil rights over the years. Mayor and President Garcetti, you've been great friends of the Armenian community, and you've always stood with us. And on behalf of the community, let me say thank you for all that you've done over the years in demanding truth. You know, colleagues, we've all been buffeted by the horrors of genocide over the last century. We hear stories of the Armenian genocide and, of course, the Holocaust, Cambodian genocide, Rwanda, and even now, as we sit here today in this chamber, genocide is occurring in the Darfur region of Sudan. And we hear the stories and we hear the numbers and we hear the grotesque nature of the violence and the hatred and the bigotry. And it's hard sometimes to comprehend horrors of that magnitude. And unfortunately, because it's difficult to comprehend, we're sometimes slow to act. And I often think that if we can just boil this down to small stories of individual human beings, that it's much easier for us to grasp this. You might recall in Schindler's List, Steven Spielberg shot that film primarily in black and white, but there was that one incredible moment when he was showing a scene of Auschwitz when there was one small girl who wore pink in that sea of black and white and gray. And by doing that one little technique, he humanized an atrocity beyond our imagination into something we can comprehend. So I'd like you to take just a minute today as we talk about the Armenian genocide and the 1,500,000 men, women, and children who perished at that time. I'd like you to take a minute to think about what it was like to be there 95 years ago today. To be in the town that my family came from, Husenig. Husenig was a small town in a region called Kharpert. Kharpert was a college area. The brother of my great-grandmother was a professor at Euphrates College there, professor of mathematics. And my family had all already immigrated to the United States. They were safely here in California by then. But one member of my family went back because he wanted to teach. He wanted to be able to provide the gift of learning to the next generation. So 95 years ago today, Khachadur Nahigian, my great-great-uncle, was probably sitting in his office talking with students, listening to their excuses for not turning in an assignment. And outside of his office, you probably could have seen college students who were finding places where they could go to be alone with one another without their parents seeing. Outside of the college, you probably would have heard children playing in the streets, and as you walked along, you would have smelled the aromas of the evening meal being cooked in 100 homes. And, you know, life was pretty much going on as it always did over the millennia in Kharpert that night. But what the people of that area could not have possibly understood is that one of the greatest crimes of humanity was about to begin that very evening, on the evening of April 23rd and on into April 24th, when hundreds of intellectuals and other leaders of the Armenian community would be rounded up in Istanbul, arrested, then Constantinople, arrested and put to their death. Eventually, that genocide reached Kharpert, and on June 30th, my great-uncle, Khachadur, a man of letters and a man of peace, was arrested along with the other Armenian professors at Kharpert College, at Euphrates College, and was held without charge, tortured in jail, and murdered in public in the town square of the town in which they were raised. And that is the reason that this issue is so personal to me and so many others in the Armenian community, because of those individual stories that are difficult for us to comprehend. Our honoree today is Dr. J. Michael Hagopian, the chairman of the Armenian Film Foundation, and it has been Dr. Hagopian's life's work to preserve those individual stories. For 3 decades, he has traveled around the world. He has tracked down survivors and eyewitnesses on every continent on Earth to try to document their stories on film, so that as they pass away, and unfortunately almost all of them now have, their voices would still be heard by the world. And thank God for the work that he's done, because had it not been for the initiative that he took in recording this eyewitness testimony, eventually, as the survivors and as the eyewitnesses pass away, it's that much easier for the denialists to prevail. And of course, we experience the same thing now with the passing away of the witnesses to the Holocaust. And the Shoah Foundation has done similar work in preserving those testimonies. And now, Dr. Hagopian's work and the work of Steven Spielberg are joined together at the University of Southern California through the Shoah Foundation Institute, which will now make those eyewitness testimonies of those 2 genocides available to all the world to see through digitalization and on the World Wide Web. So it's because of the work of Dr. Hagopian that we still have those voices, and we can still hear those voices and still see the truth in their testimony of their individual stories. One of those stories of survivorship is Dr. Hagopian himself, who is a survivor of the Armenian genocide. Dr. Hagopian was born in Kharpert, the same place that my family came from. His parents, his grandparents, knew Khachatur Nahigian, my ancestor, who perished in the genocide. And by the wonderful miracles of fate that only Los Angeles can create, Dr. Hagopian and I have come together to stand at this podium with you and allow me the great honor of recognizing him for his life's work. So with that, before we introduce Dr. Hagopian, I would like to present to you a very brief video about Dr. Hagopian's life's work.
I was named Hagop when I was born, which later became Jacob, and I reduced it to J. Michael Hagopian. Hagop was the name of my grandfather. My dad's own name was Mikhail Minasyan. He changed it to honor his father. He called himself Hagopian. I was born in 1913, October 20. I was born 2 years prior to the genocide. My dad was a doctor, and this is primarily why he survived. They needed his competence. He was the best doctor in town. Turkish officials trusted him. So every now and then they'd say, "Doctor, we're going to ship you off. You can go with this caravan or that caravan." My dad would say, "Why don't I wait? Why don't I go with the next one?" And so he survived. And now at one time, when matters became very critical, they hid me in a well. They put me in a well for 2 days. They figured they're going to die anyway, so let the kid live. Maybe someone will find him. From the time we left Kharpert until we arrived in America, it was about 9 months. So we lived in Boston for 4 years and then moved out to California. And the genocide was behind us. I do remember some things. I must have been 5 or 6 or 7 years old, getting together with 2 other boys in a kind of a hidden corner of the garden, and we were kind of afraid. We didn't want people to see us or hear what we're saying. But I remember the discussion. What are you going to do when you grow up? Then I came up with Woodrow Wilson. I want to be like Woodrow Wilson. He was trying to save the Armenians, and he was trying to give self-determination. But I didn't know what that meant. But he was a great hero. During those years, Wilson was a god to almost every victimized people on Earth. I started filming survivors as early as 1965. The Armenian Film Foundation was established with the help of several community leaders in 1979, and its purpose was to document the witnesses, survivors and witnesses of the Armenian genocide. I hope that I had started earlier. I missed a lot of good people that should have been interviewed. Fortunately, I've put them on film, which is the most stable and durable of the visual media, because my main aim in life during all these 40 years or 50 years was to catch our history for the future. So the future, well, I hope that these films can be used as testimony in some future world court. I'm sure that someday the Armenians will have an opportunity to confront the Turks and what happened to us in a world court. At that time, there will be no survivors left. The only ones we have are on film. And that's when it's going to be so important to bring out the testimony of what happened. And that is why it's so important to preserve this material.
Ladies and gentlemen, the importance of the work of J. Michael Hagopian and the Armenian Film Foundation could hardly be overstated. And I think the importance of that work is seen in the fact that today here we're joined by Archbishop Hovsepian of the Western Diocese of the Armenian Apostolic Church of America, Archbishop Mardirosyan of the Western Prelacy, His Eminence Archbishop Mardirosyan of the Western Prelacy of the Armenian Church, the Consul General of the Republic of Armenia, Grigor Hovhannisyan, Peter Darakyan of the Armenian Council of America, Jerry Papazian and Tamar Mashigian, board members along with me of the Armenian Film Foundation, as well as Aida Demedjan, who's the chair of the board of the Armenian National Committee of America, and many other leaders of the Armenian community who have joined us here today to recognize the life's work of this man who's standing before me, Dr. J. Michael Hagopian.
Thank you very much, Paul Krikorian, Councilman Krikorian, Mayor of the City of Los Angeles, President of the Chamber, the revered clergy. I'm honored to be here. Whatever has been said about me or whatever awards that I'm receiving from you or acclamation, I accept it only in terms of the 1,500,000 Armenians who perished. I accept it on behalf of the survivors of the Armenian genocide. Thank you very much for being here.
Mr. Koretz. Mr. Koretz?
Yes, well, as Mr. Krikorian said earlier, not acknowledging a genocide only makes it easier to repeat it. And this means a lot to me because I lost many family members in the Holocaust, which was justified by Adolf Hitler by the ease that the Armenian genocide was forgotten and never acknowledged. And as the last few survivors die off, I think it becomes more and more incumbent on us to relentlessly call for the recognition of the Armenian genocide worldwide, and in particular by the Turkish government and its people. And I've never completely understood why they continue to deny it. The German government, as horrific as what took place was, the German government and its people have acknowledged the Holocaust. And there isn't the same anger among the Jewish people towards the current generation because they're not the ones that have done it, and in fact they have, in the overwhelming majority, have strived to make sure that nothing ever like this happens again on their watch, and in fact that they help to prevent it in other places. So I would again call upon the Turkish people and the Turkish government to do the same, not only to acknowledge what happened, but to recognize that for us to take full advantage of that, we all need to fight to make sure that genocides that are happening now come to a halt and that it doesn't happen again in the future. So Paul, I thank you for bringing Mr. Hagopian here. I recognize him and commend him for everything that he's done, and we're fortunate that you've lived as long as you have to be able to have this great achievement take place. Thank you very much.
Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you, Madam President. And I think you have been kept alive to 97 years truly by the spirit in you and around you, because you are a messenger. You are giving a message to the world about a genocide that people have not acknowledged. The House of Representatives on March 4th, by a narrow vote, the Foreign Affairs Committee acknowledged the genocide. What did Turkey do? It pulled away its ambassador, and the politics is still going on in Washington. I hope the leadership in Washington will recognize, and the full House will vote on it, and we, as the United States of America, a country that believes in individual rights and human dignity, will stand behind you. But thank you for what you've done for all of us. And as I've said to Paul Krikorian when he was a candidate for office and stood here a year ago, and his comment just a few minutes ago about Darfur can be expanded to other genocides that continue on this earth today. And when it came to Germany, you know, in my studio when I was the cable guy, I allowed all kinds of videotaping of survivors to take place so they could archive that tragedy before it came out of place. And I think of my own people. I'm an openly gay guy, and I know right now as I'm standing here in Uganda and other places in Africa, if they find out you're gay, they kill you. And we have to protect all of human nature on this planet. And by acknowledging this genocide, it does impact other genocides. Thank you both very much for doing this. Mr. Mayor, for being here. Mr. President of the Council.
Mr. Laban.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor and my colleagues, especially Mr. Krikorian, when you spoke, I just say this, it was education. And the great thing about a public building is that microphone. And for those who hear it continually, as Mr. Corrett spoke earlier of his days in college and how there was not truth being taught. So this is an important day for all of us to remember and to look around at the diverse Los Angeles and the John Ferraro chambers. I thank all of you here, and I especially thank the man who was in that film who today educated more people about this tragedy of history that should be corrected. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Labange.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. And further on the subject of education, we have with us today the 11th grade of the AGBU Manuga and Demerjian School in Canoga Park, who's here to join us for today's festive commemoration as well. And I want to thank all of my colleagues, President Garcetti, Mayor Villaraigosa, for your participation in this important recognition of J. Michael Hagopian. And I'm pleased to present to you, Michael, this certificate on behalf of the City of Los Angeles, this resolution marking your life's work.
I will treasure this for all time.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Parks, you will be our next presentation.
Just a second. Thank you, Madam Mr. President. Folks, today, what I'm very pleased to be joined by Ms. Perry, and if we could get Mr. Wesson up. We're going to be honoring the NAACP as they approach their 100th year anniversary. And I'd like to ask their president, Leon Jenkins, to come up. He's going to be accompanied by Greg Akili, Mary Ann Smith, Ernest Smith, Willis Edwards, who's from the National Board, Vassie Thomas, and Latricia Mitchell. All come up. Please take off those visitors tags and just set up your photos. Colleagues, it's been almost 100 years anniversary for the Los Angeles branch of the NAACP. It was formed in the home of Dr. John and Vada Somerville, both graduates of USC School of Dentistry. They were both active members and leaders in affairs of the black community. Among the founding members were E. Burton Cerruti, who has served as the organization's legal advisor, Charles Alexander, John Shackelford, Betty Hill, Reverend Joseph Johnson, and W.T. Cleghorn. They elected President Dr. Charles Edward Block, who served with distinction for 8 years. The branch began immediately addressing mounting concerns about racial discrimination and second-class treatment of the city's colored citizens and serving as a principal political leadership in the black community. Contemporaneously with World War I, the branch seized upon national shortage of nurses to press for the reversal of an early decision by the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors to bar colored students from training schools for nurses at Los Angeles County Hospital. Appealing to patriotic sentiment, if not moral rights, the NAACP, the NAACP, pointed out that but for the discriminatory ruling, black nurses could have been saving lives in Europe. The branch's success with this issue launched it into a forefront of the fight against racial discrimination.
And it was during this period, too, in 1919, the first African-American, Frederick Madison Roberts, was elected to the California State Assembly, winning over vicious opposition that included campaign literature stating, my opponent, and I don't need to say this word, is a N-word. Then the N-word. In 1924, the Los Angeles branch elected Dr. H. Claude Hudson, a local dentist and civic leader, as president. Dr. Hudson led the organization for 10 consecutive years, and it was during Dr. Hudson's tenure that the branch hosted the 19th annual NAACP convention. I'm learning to be good. The first to be held in Los Angeles in 1932 in the aftermath of an earthquake which damaged the Los Angeles public schools. The branch filed a successful lawsuit against the Monrovia School Board to force them to give African American students the same consideration as Caucasian students who were allowed to enroll in that city until Los Angeles schools could be made safe. Over the next 15 years, with attorney Thomas L. Griffith, Jr. at the helm, the branch aggressively fought back against discrimination on several fronts. Lawsuits were filed and won, forcing the Pasadena Department of Parks to allow African American and Mexican American citizens the right to swim daily in a municipal pool against the County of Los Angeles for discrimination in employment, and a landmark decision in 1948 in which the Supreme Court of the United States ruled unconstitutional restrictive real estate covenants which precluded black residency in certain neighborhoods. With its membership growing rapidly, the Los Angeles branch in 1963, the Los Angeles Unified School District was ordered by the Supreme Court in 1976 to implement a school desegregation plan. 5 years later, the branch again went on the offensive in a protracted battle against a state constitutional amendment that sought to undermine the Supreme Court decision by restricting the transport of students away from their home school. In the 1980s, the branch adopted a more aggressive stance on issues affecting the economic development of the African American community. Successful Black Dollar Day campaigns underscored the importance of the black consumer market. The branch successfully lobbied for a Metro Rail subway station that would directly affect and impact the black community and supported efforts to rescind a county proposal to contract out jobs held by county workers. Under the leadership of one of the branch's youngest presidents, John T. McDonald III, the branch successfully pressed for fair share agreements with Coors Brewing Company and McDonald's restaurants. Currently, the branch continues to support the programs and policies of the NAACP with aggressive action at the local level, in addition to ongoing initiatives in the areas of civil rights and social and economic development, local priorities that revolve around the theme of education. You want to pick it up there?
Through an annual salute to education excellence, the branch encourages and recognizes educational achievement. We're very proud of our youth members who last year honored our branch with 2 gold and a silver medal in the Act So competition. Working in close concert with local Black Leadership Coalition on Education, the branch has also taken the lead as an advocate of the Los Angeles Unified School District for the development of programs addressing the issues of integration, overcrowding, and low achievement amongst Black and minority students. Today, I'd like to congratulate the Los Angeles NAACP and during the 97-year anniversary of recognizing its 2010 Roy Wilkins Freedom Fund Award Gala, which will be held on Tuesday, May the 13th. Pardon? Thursday. Okay, Thursday, May 13th. I'd like to ask at this time for Mr. Jenkins to come up, who's the president. And also, I think it's appropriate that, although we didn't put it in the text, that this organization has been on the mainstay of assisting Congressman Conyers on an annual basis as he puts forth his H.R. 40 legislation each year that talks about slavery and the impact and the aftermath of slavery, and in which it's really asking the United States for the first time to at least acknowledge and to apologize for those acts throughout the history of this country. And so I think it's important that as they go forward on their 97th year and their upcoming event, that we have them here to honor them and also to promote and advise the public about the event and encourage them to attend. Mr. Jenkins.
Good morning, and thanks for having the NAACP here. I look around this room and I'm just overwhelmed with the feeling that the NAACP is a wonderful thing. You look at this chamber, you look at the people in the gallery, and this could not have happened but for the work of the NAACP. And it is just a wonderful thing. You have an open invitation to our Freedom Fund dinner, May 13th, 6 o'clock. We'd love to have you there, and I'm just so amazed at just the diversity of this council. And you all should, if you're not members, you should be a member. I got your membership applications with me. And thank you. Mr. Edwards, would you like to say something?
You always do.
Oh, yes. I'm not surprised.
Good morning. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you all for your prayers. Recently, Dr. Benjamin Hooks passed away, our leader within the NAACP. But I want to say a few things about Leon Jenkins and the leadership of the Los Angeles Ranch. We're excited, and we're on the movement in this city to make a difference in education and fight for justice. And on behalf of the National Board, Chairman Rosalind Brock and President Benjamin Todd Jealous, we congratulate the Los Angeles Ranch for its outstanding work in the city of Los Angeles. In 2011, the convention will be here in Los Angeles. And we want everybody to participate, including the city of Los Angeles, because we feel that this is a historical moment that we're bringing back the convention to this city. We're bringing resources, and we hope that we'll be able to have some issues that we will be able to solve in the city of Los Angeles and help you solve. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Okay.
Okay.
So, you want to say the presentation?
Colleagues, on behalf of the Los Angeles City Council, we'd like to honor the NAACP in its 97th year and also to encourage them to continue in the struggle for equal justice and human rights throughout this country, but particularly the LA branch and the activities that they've been involved with.
Thank you.
Stand right there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parks, Ms. Perry, on this very special moment. Mr. Jenkins, thank you, and Mr. Edwards and the whole delegation.
We're going to go in the back. Thank you. Janet, these you?
Let's all always remember Tom Bradley and the great work that Tom Bradley has done over the years as well. Thank you very much. Now I'd like to call a former top assistant to Mayor Bradley, now Councilman Richard Alarcon.
Get up close so they can see it. If you can see it, that's what's going to come out on TV. Council members, when I was elected in 1993, I inherited an amenities fund that was established by Councilmember Hernani Bernardi that was created as a result of the years of putting up with the Lopez Canyon landfill. He established the Lopez Canyon Amenities Fund, and I've continued that fund. In fact, it really is it provides tremendous resources to the Northeast San Fernando Valley that otherwise wouldn't go to the Northeast San Fernando Valley. In fact, just last week we authorized $150,000 to provide for police overtime that was not coming, and will enable us to get a hold of a spike in gang violence in the Northeast Valley. But Councilmember Bernardi also established the Hernani Bernardi Scholarship Fund, which was intended to provide scholarships to students at Mission College. And so today I'm here to announce the recipients of this year's Hernani Bernardi Scholarship Fund through the Lopez Canyon Amenities Fund. But before I mention who won, I do want to mention that the committee that puts this together are selected, they're community volunteers who include Alina Tillman, Seal Borman, Phyllis Hines, Edna Agee, Richard Gallegos, and Susan Segai. These are the people that did the work to select these individuals. I can tell you that next year our program will be a little bit different because I think we want to expand it to include Cal State Northridge, to give people of Pacoima, Lake Gutierrez, and East Sylmar opportunities to get scholarships to higher institutions. So I want to encourage these 4 recipients to do the good work, and maybe we can continue to provide them scholarships as they move on to other schools, including Cal State Northridge. So today we recognize 4 students who have demonstrated that they are going to penetrate the college system and graduate with a 4-year degree. First, we have Felipe Talaveras, Jr. Felipe is a sociology major at LA Mission College in Sylmar. He is planning to transfer to Cal State Northridge in September of 2011 and getting his bachelor's degree in sociology. He is active in a local Sunday baseball league. He is married and has 1 daughter. He is a great role model for his young daughter, of course, and his wife just told me that she is a graduate of Cal State Northridge, and she is going to mentor him through his years at Cal State Northridge, I'm sure. Secondly, we have Selena Gonzalez. Selena is a psychology major at LA Mission College. She plans to transfer to Cal State Northridge also, and in this next coming September, to pursue her Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology. She graduated from Sylmar High School and has stated that her grandparents always emphasized the importance of obtaining higher education. She is a CalWorks student who helps other students like herself as a single mother to succeed in college. She is willing to go the extra mile to help her fellow students. Third, we have Cynthia Cervantes. Cynthia is an animal science major with a minor as a veterinary technician, and she plans to go to UC Davis, which I can tell you is one of the best veterinary colleges in the country, having provided a bill to provide funding to build a brand new, in fact, I think Mr. Wesson, it was under your tenure, and Gray Davis, that we provided the funding to make UC Davis one of the best veterinary institutes in the country. And Cynthia will be a graduate there in not too many years. She's always had the goal of becoming a veterinarian and has shared that ever since she was little. She actually told me she has a couple of horses at home, and so she lives what she speaks. She's her employer describes her as very responsible, friendly, respectful, and a team player, and I know that she is going to be a tremendous contributor to enhancing the quality of life for so many animals and their owners. Fourthly, we have Sandra Rojas, the final recipient. She could not be here today due to a family illness. She's a major in management and administration and is planning on receiving her associate's arts degree. We want to thank all of these four talented people. The one thing that is interesting is the three that I spoke to said that they plan on giving back to their community, and I know that they will. Again, I want to thank the committee. Actually, I'd like to ask Seal Borman to step forward on behalf of the committee to express their interest. Seal Borman and Phyllis Hines are really the backbone of the Lopez Canyon Amenities Fund, but also the Lakeview Terrace, Pacoima area development relative to the Lopez Canyon, Hanson Dam. They're involved in everything, and they're two tremendous people. They do this in addition to everything else they do. So, Seal, if you could say some words about these young people.
Well, I'd just like to say that I'm very proud to have served on the committee to choose these students, and I'm looking forward to, as Richard said, to expand so that we can help them also go on and achieve a higher education in other colleges. And I want to congratulate them and thank them for being such good students.
We have one willing speaker amongst the three, Selena Gonzalez, not to be confused with Selena Gomez. Yes, I know who that is. Is very willing to speak on behalf of the students.
I just want to thank everyone here at City Hall for bringing us forward here. This is my first time here, and I want to thank Richard Alarcon for giving me the opportunity to do so, and also the committee. Thank you very much for choosing me as a recipient. I really appreciate it, and I am going to give back to the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alarcon, and for your leadership on this tour. To the students, I think it's so special as you all are here. And make sure you visit the top tower before you leave today, the Tom Bradley Tower. Congratulations again. Now I'd like to call on Jan Perry.
Hey, Horny. Thanks for bringing everybody in. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Today, as we celebrate Earth Week, I am very, very proud to honor the Santee Education Complex debate team to our council chambers, along with their debate advisor, Mr. Nick Richard. The Santee Education Complex debate team is hosting its Vision of a Sustainable Future student art contest here at City Hall in our rotunda until 1 p.m. today. In this contest, student artists have been asked to envision a world where the threat of climate change has been eliminated due to sustainable living practices. Submitted art includes works from Santee, Jefferson High School, and Venice High Schools. Local artists have also submitted art pieces. This contest is part of Santee Debates' participation in the United Nations Foundation's Global Debates Program, which challenges high school students from around the world to think critically about pressing global issues. This spring, the team debated the actions and adaptations necessary to combat climate change. The Santee Education Complex debate team has won global debates each of the past 2 years, and that is why I am so proud of the young people standing here behind me, because they're our future. They will one day be the ones who will come up with the creative approaches to combat some of the world's biggest problems. They will one day be the leaders who are asked to tackle deep-rooted issues such as poverty, global health concerns, and climate change. The fresh perspective that they bring today will be valuable for the future for all of us. I look forward to seeing them thrive and take the lessons they learned today and apply them to their future in an effort to build a strong and healthy community. As a result of their participation in global debates, Santee Education Complex will be highlighted throughout the UN Foundation website and will be eligible to win prizes that include a $2,000 UN Foundation school grant and a trip to the Open Society Institute's Youth Forum in the Netherlands. The United Nations Foundation is an advocate for the United Nations and a platform for connecting people, ideas, resources to help the United Nations solve global problems. And I think it's wonderful that the young students of Santee have chosen to engage in this great educational opportunity. And I wanted to take this opportunity to publicly congratulate and celebrate them today. And now I would like to invite Santee's Global Debates coach, Nick Richard, to say a few words.
Thank you, City Council. Thank you especially our councilperson, Jan Perry, for recognizing the Santee debate team. We've been doing the global debates for 2 years. We've won the past 2, and we're trying to win the 3rd year in a row. The Global Debates is a worldwide competition where students debate on global issues like climate change adaptation, aid for developing countries, and global water ownership. I'm very proud of the hard work our students have put in, including debating in front of hundreds of their peers, other students. So I'd like to introduce Miguel Asensio, our debate team president.
Good morning, distinguished council members. My name is Miguel Asensio, and I'm the president of the Santee High School Global Debate Team. The debate team at Santee is sponsored by the United Nations Foundation, and we actively participate in their annual Global Debates contest. I am proud to say that the Santee Global Debate Team has won the trip to the United Nations Foundation 2 times in a row, and this year we look forward to winning a trip to the Youth Leadership Summit in the Netherlands to meet students from around the world and share ideas about helping our community and doing our part to help the environment. We do various service projects, public service announcements, and blogs in order to win points and represent South Central Los Angeles in the global community, and thank you for your time.
So I think you can see now why I'm so proud and why I wanted to bring them here today. So I want to say congratulations again and to invite all of you here to go into the City Hall Rotunda to view their amazing art collection that will depart at 1 p.m. this afternoon. And with that, I want to present this certificate of commendation to the entire debate team and their coach and to say, job well done. We're going to go in the back. Okay. You got all your stuff? Yeah, okay. Thank you. No, nobody left anything behind, right?
Thank you, and congratulations, Santee. Ms. Perry, thank you. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, that completes our presentations. First item of business, please.
That would be the roll call. Alarcon, Cardenas, Hahn, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Wesson, Zine, Garcetti. 11 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Next item, please.
Approval of the minutes.
Excuse me?
Approval of the minutes.
Approval of the minutes by Mr. Parks, second by Mr. Smith.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
By Mr. Labange and Mr. Koretz.
Mr. President, would you like to run through the agenda?
Let's do that.
Before beginning the regular agenda, there are requests to continue a number of the items. There's a request to continue items 5 and 6 2 weeks to May 7th.
Without objection, 5 and 6 continued.
On item 19, there's a request to continue that matter to April 27th.
Without objection, that's approved. 19.
On item 20, as well as 23, there's also a request to continue that to April 27th.
Without objection. All right, let's continue 20 and 23. We'll hold on the table.
On the regular agenda, items 1 through 9, with the exception of the items that were continued, are items for which public hearings have been held.
Any special, item 2 special for Mr. Rosendahl? Any other specials, colleagues? No other, Mr. Parks?
I'm sorry, wait, I'm too soon.
Too soon? Okay. On the items, no other specials on those matters? Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Those are approved. Next item, please.
And the ordinance will go over 1 week.
Yes. Next item.
Items 10 through 32, with the exception of the items that were continued, are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration. Item 10 is a commission appointment. Do you wish to hold that on the desk?
Please hold that, and any cards, hold those items also.
That would be items 11, 14, 18, 21, 22, and 26.
Very well. On the remaining items, Mr. Parks?
I'd like to make a technical amendment on item 18, that we remove recommendation 2B as it conflicts with previous council direction.
There are cards on that item, so that'll be called special.
We'll hold that special. Remaining items, colleagues? Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Those are approved. Next items, please.
Items 33 and 34 are the closed session items. Do you wish to hold those on the desk?
Yes, please.
And there are cards on those as well.
Mr. Parks?
On item 33, I'd like to add 2-week continuance. City attorney is resolving some issues on the settlement. Item 34, I believe we'd also go on open session and approve it, because I believe many of the issues that are in that settlement are going to be part of council rules and have already been implemented.
There also is a public comment card on it, though.
Okay.
So, okay.
All right.
Very well.
So the request is to continue item 33 to May 7th.
Without objection, that's fine.
34 will be left on the desk.
All right.
On the continuation agenda, item 35 is an item for which public hearing has been held, and there is no action required on that today.
All righty. Next item, please.
That would take council back to the items called special or public comment.
Mr. Labange, you had an item you wanted to...
I'd like to have our library commissioner designee come number 10, if that's okay with you, Mr. President.
That's fine.
That is item 10, and the appointment of Mr. Carlos Singer to the Board of Library Commissioners.
And we have a, Mr. Singer, please come forward. We also have a card from Arnold Sachs on that matter. Mr. Sachs, we will hear from you, and then we will hear from the nominee.
As Mr. Sachs walks up, I just want to let you know this is an excellent designee commissioner for confirmation by Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, who's going to make a difference for our library system.
And Mr. Labange does carry a library card. Mr. Sachs.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Arnold Sachs. Congratulations on being appointed to the Library Commission. Previous library commissioner that was appointed here, I believe last year sometime, I asked them this question regarding a motion that Councilman Labange had made regarding advertising that AEG was going to produce at the convention center, with a percentage of that advertising going to the library to help it in its operations. Nothing's been done with the advertising procedures at the convention center, although AEG's got a free rein. They've had carte blanche for 10 years. Do you think there's something you could do to fire them up, to fire City Council up, to find out how you can generate some funds? Because the library, it's on the agenda, they're going to close hours because of lack of funding, and here's a perfect example. Thank you.
Mr. Labange.
President, Mr. Sachs, thank you for your public comment. If you could tell us your passion, why you want to make a difference, and I'm very excited that we all want to vote for you.
Thank you, Councilmember Labange. First, I'd like to thank the President and the other honorable council members for considering my nomination here this morning. I'd also like to thank the mayor, my former boss, for nominating me to sit alongside some very distinguished Angelinos. I'm honored to be considered for the Library Commission, and no one is more excited about and passionate about reading than my 19-month-old daughter, who had me read the same book to her 3 times this morning. So it's on her behalf and on behalf of other children in the city of Los Angeles that I'm grateful for the nomination. and grateful for the opportunity to do what I can do to help address the concerns of our city, especially in this time of great stress, budget-wise.
Thank you very much, and I know you're a family man and you read to your daughter. What's your favorite book?
My favorite book...
No, your daughter's favorite
Oh, my daughter's favorite book. Well, it depends on what hour of the day you're talking about, but I think one of her favorites is Madeline, any Madeline book.
Good. And you remember your favorite book?
I do. My favorite book growing up was The Rainbow Goblins.
Mine was Mike Mulligan and his Steve Shovel.
Nice. That's a good one, too.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. President, ask for an aye vote.
Members, this is before us for a vote. Please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Very well. Congratulations. You are confirmed.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Clerk,
Mr. President, do you wish to do public comment at this time?
let's do public comment. Without any other pressing matters, we will start with Mr. Walsh. Mr. Walsh, public comment time.
My favorite book was Das Kapital by Karl Marx. It's a little outdated, but it's fun reading. HollywoodHighlands.org. We have a scoop, an exclusive, a nationwide, international exclusive. HollywoodHighlands.org. When you go to it, you will find out who the ringleaders were in the attack, verbal attack on the President of the United States here in Los Angeles, where they stopped the meeting. He was driven from the podium by a group of right-wing gay hecklers. The name of the group is on our website now. It has ties to Bill Rosendahl, who's in the back room. We're asking Mr. Rosendahl, did he know that there was going to be a heckling attack on the President of the United States? We're also concerned that we're not sure, but we heard a rumor that the President Obama made a gay slur during that period. He was overheard to call these hecklers a gay slur. If you want to know about that, come to our website. We want you to know that when Garcetti and Antonio followed and trailed and almost stalked the president to the tarmac while the president was getting on Air Force One, they apologized. I want to know why Mr. Krikorian wasn't brought there. I want to know when we had a chance to talk to the mayor, why they didn't talk about the governor, the president of the United States. He is a Holocaust denier. Did they talk about that? No. HollywoodHighlands.org. What did they talk about? Lending the city and the county at $5 billion to speed up rail. That's all they talked to after they apologized. We put a post up there about a few hours ago. It's going to cause a national, and we want to know why there was lax security.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. If you're here to speak on a matter, or in Van Nuys or San Pedro, you must complete the speaker card before the matter is called. If you are here for an item, the card must be submitted before the item is called. Our next speaker is Dr. Williams.
Dr. Williams, Dr. Clyde Williams, 4115 Barrett Road, El Sereno, Northeast LA. DWP, somebody said something about transparency. Transparency. How about the new general manager that's been approved by the Board of Water and Power Commissioners? Maybe it should be reopened through 245 because he's only charging $1 a year. Old saying was, you pay for what you get. If you don't pay as much, you don't get as much. So I'm concerned about that side of it, but I also am quite aware that he is related to Wall Street, intimately. And I'm quite concerned about what networks he is establishing, what information he will have access to that we can't even get. When the LA 32 Neighborhood Council asked for the liaison report from the DWP representative, I say, I don't know. I don't know what's happening because nobody will tell us. And apparently, because of the rate situation, nobody seems to know what's going on even with the rates, even after the last 3 or 4 weeks. So, transparency. Let's see everything that the interim acting general manager has on his books. What books does he have? We were talking about childhood books. How about adult books? What books does he have? What are his connections? And how is he firewalled from those influencing his actions? So all I ask for is a 245 review of the approval of the acting interim general manager for the Department of Water and Power. Thank you.
Lee Glaze.
Whoops. Again, got it. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the City Council. Are they all there? I can't see.
Most of them are there.
At any rate, my name is Lee Glaze. I live in Hollywood now, but I lived in Long Beach for 57 years. We had an openly gay mayor, Dan Baker, and I had no idea whatsoever that we had an openly gay council member up here, and I want to applaud him. And at the same time, I really didn't realize that Councilman Garcetti, whose district I live in, was extremely active in the equal rights movement. And as far as that is concerned, according to the LA Times and Los Angeles Magazine, it all started here in Los Angeles. It says the fight for the modern gay rights movement started in Los Angeles in August of 1968 with the demonstration against the LAPD led by yours truly. And Reverend Troy Perry happened to have been in that parade and later told me, he said, Lee, you have inspired me to form Metropolitan Community Church, which isn't exactly the worst legacy on the planet. So I'm very proud of that. At the same time, I'm disappointed that the entire City Council isn't here because I think it's about time that they realize that gays are the last minority and that they need to finally, at long last, approve an equal rights bill that we can marry whomever we damn well please. And at any rate, I really want to applaud Councilman Lowendahl. Is he over there? Councilman Lowendahl, and I thank you very, very much. Last time that I was here, that you applauded my participation in the little demonstration in 1965, the Freedom March. And by the way, that march was organized by an advisor to Dr. King, who happened to have been a gay black man. His name was Bayard Rustin. So we have been extraordinarily involved in every single civil rights movement throughout the country. Thank you so much.
Thank you. No Weiss.
Whoops. There.
Gotcha. Okay.
Council members, good morning. First off, I think that the city attorney basically should issue some kind of a ruling when there's not a quorum and there's a vote. You just took a vote on approval of the library commissioner. There were not 10 members present in this chamber, and I don't think that's right. I think you are paid enough money to sit here in the chamber and vote and not have it on automatic. My primary comment relates to the need to have a 245 on the mayor's interim appointment of Austin Butner. Somebody on this council has got to stand up for the people here, and if it's not you guys, it's basically not going to be anybody. It's the old definition of democracy versus liberty. Liberty is basically a well-armed lamb, and democracy is two wolves deciding on what to have for dinner and a sheep. And the bottom line is, you guys are our shield, and if you're not here, we have Wall Street walking in the front door. We have a person who owns probably $9 million shares of a company called Evercore. It's an M&A, mergers and acquisitions entity. The contact information that he's going to be able to obtain, the ability for proprietary information, inside information on the largest utility in the country, without any kind of a disclosure, it is wrong. This council is our only check. We need, and I know Mr. Zine has made some comments in this regard, but we need full openness, full transparency. Now, last March, you did grow a spine about 3 weeks ago in terms of putting forth some effort in protecting the interests of the people here. I think it's important right here, right now. You have until next Friday, because the action was on Tuesday. This council has to stand up. Somebody has to introduce a 245, and we need to have openness and transparency with regard to whether or not this man has any conflicts of interest, to say nothing of his capability of running the department. The mayor has also said that he's not going to be exclusive over there, that he's going to be running out of the mayor's office. When we did Measure B, we said, in essence, there's a proprietary, there's a Chinese wall there. That's breaking down. That was one of the problems with Measure B. Council, please stand up. We need to make this happen. Thank you.
Arnold Sachs. Arnold Sachs.
Thank you. Good morning. Arnold Sachs. Seems to be DWP's day. The doctor was concerned about what books to look at for DWP information, and I say, go to Who's Who in America. They just spent a couple of grand, more than a couple of grand, $15,000 on listing their commissioners in Who's Who in Black America. So there's the information. But what's great is, again, nobody knows anything. You don't know what the rate, how long the rate increase is going to be. The past president, the past commissioner, waited 12 weeks to come to council and say, oh, by the way, DWP is absorbing $6 million in losses a week. Yet we need a rate increase. Nobody knows. But you know what they do know? We're going to vote yes on a rate increase. You know that. And somebody, no voice just said, stand up. You are standing. The only problem is you're standing on your knees. DWP getting its shots. Another related item. Yesterday, EMTA met. A lot of talk about the new mayor's 30-10 plan. And I mentioned that's like a Popeye cartoon where Wimpy would say, I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. Only he never paid up. But what was also interesting in that, a meeting yesterday, there was some discussion regarding the Crenshaw-LAX corridor. And again, as I asked there, and I asked here, what is the parameters of the Crenshaw corridor? Does the 110 freeway enter into that corridor? Because the 110 freeway, the property around the 110 freeway is benefited by the HOV lanes, the money that's generated there. But we got no answer there. We got no.
Anchor Patel. Mr. Patel.
So again, we talk about specific actions that you guys can take to make a difference, right? We talk about the plastic bags. You can put a CRV on it, charge it. Sustainability is an important issue. Jan Perry you did your presentations for an hour and a half today. They're okay. I appreciate some of the organizations that come out. Jan Perry honored the sustainability, kids fighting for sustainability. She talks about these are going to be our future leaders of the world. You are our leaders now. You are our leaders now. You can make a difference.
Mr. Patel. Thank you.
You are in the best interest of the people. We are behind you for sustainability issues. Plastic bags, that would get done. The Metro Tap Pass, transportation. Public transportation is an important issue. The Tap Pass is difficult to use. It is not the best thing to do. And you guys are in a position of power to affect change. And we would get behind you in anything that actually mattered. You guys are here, kind of, hardly conscious. Some of you guys disrespect us constantly. Constantly. You disrespect the people, and it's Austin Buehner. It's absolute disrespect right now. This is a joke. Inflation, that is a joke. The Federal Reserve is allowed to print money. Why? To keep the masses poor. China used the same strategy in the devaluation of their currency. They turned the spigot of prosperity to their people right when they're ready to revolt. And then they give them a little bit more food, a little bit more place to stay. And then the people are content again. The people are not content!
Mr. Patel, if you can't keep your voice down, you're going to be removed from the chambers. That'll be your first and last warning. Next time you'll be removed. Gary Rich.
Thank you, Council, for giving me this opportunity to address you. I'd like to, in general, speak about the medical marijuana dispensary ordinance that is currently in place and looking forward to moving into finalization. On behalf of the patients and the registered, I want to make emphasis on the registered as compared to unregistered collectives. On behalf of the patients and the registered collectives, the ordinance requires that the registered collectives move to a M-zone location to facilitate retail as well as manufacturing. This cost would be about $250,000 per collective to actually establish the manufacturing and the retail aspect of that ordinance. And in the event that you mandate the registered collectives move to M-zone locations, which are not really desirable locations within the city, the patients that actually visit these registered collectives will swing over to the unregistered collectives, which, as everyone knows, exceeds 850 currently. So that could be a forced bankruptcy and end of registered collectives if they are mandated to move before we eliminate the unregistered collectives. So I respectfully request that this council consider removing the unregistered collectives and then mandating, if necessary, the move by registered collectives to M-zone locations to avoid the possible bankruptcy and destruction of the registered collectives as they are right now. I thank you very much for your time and look forward to your consideration.
Thank you, sir. Timothy Butcher.
Good morning, members of council. I think it'd be a fair statement to say that in labor we don't always see eye to eye with some of the policies and actions of the city. And I'd like to invite you to continue to work with us through the budget process. Having said that, as a member of labor, I would like to offer my thanks to this council for the work that you do, both as a group and individually. I wish the folks that were watching could understand the hours that you put in on behalf of the constituents in this city. Even though we have different views and a lot of times we don't always see eye to eye, I'm grateful for the time that you guys put in and that I understand, I respect that you feel that you are doing the best for those that you represent. So I would like to offer you on behalf of labor, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Looks like Jorge Prado. Is that correct, sir?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm representing Historic Filipino Town Chamber of Commerce and the landowners and small mom and pop apartment owners in the area. We're here to talk on behalf of them on the hardship of the rent increase freeze that is being proposed. Most of these people had a raise in DWP rates, as you guys know, and we're trying to keep them afloat. We're losing the lower half of the middle class. Those people that own 3, 4 units, those people that have a back house that they rent, they're not going to be able to afford to keep those places alive. Wish you guys would reconsider the motion and amend it to not to have small units less than, let's say, 6 or 4 units involved in that rent freeze, because that will kill them and make a lot of these people lose their property. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Alarcon, for a brief response.
Yeah, I just want to let the speaker know that there is a hardship exemption available, and nothing in the motion proposes to eliminate that. So if somebody has a real hard time keeping their apartment as a result of their inability to raise the rent, they can certainly file with the housing department for that process. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very much. If we can please go to the next item called special.
Item 2 was called special by Councilmember Rosendahl.
Okay, Mr. Rosendahl, item number 2 is before us.
I have not agreed to doing 245 on Austin View.
Sure, if there's no objection. We've had a hearing, but Mr. Rosendahl, you'd like to move to reopen the public hearing? Okay. Without objection, Larry Rich, if you'd like to come forward.
I guess this is on item number 2, so I'll speak specifically regarding that with everybody's approval of that. Currently, I've been involved in this industry for quite some time, and there are what is currently known as 186 properly registered collectives, and out there are 1,000 collectives, of which there's approximately 850 that are unregistered. The ordinance currently establishes that the registered collectives move to a M-zone location, which is one of the least desirable locations for patients regarding a safe access. These are people that need medicine. Going to a manufacturing zone to receive medicine is not the type of place they want to go. So in practice, in reality, what will take place is patients will swing to the unregistered collectives on the Ventura Boulevard and retail locations, causing the eventual demise of the registered locations if they're mandated to move. What I've suggested is one specific industrial building be established, and within that industrial building, consider it being 50,000 square feet, allotted space for each collective to actually grow in their particular space. Maybe it's a 10 by 20 space, allowing the registered collectives to remain in a retail location for the safe access of patients that need medicine. I think this is a more viable alternative to asking patients to go to M-zone locations where there's growing manufacturing and distribution of the medicine that they need. Also, just speaking about the actual tax increment of this, I've done an exhaustive study on it. There's about $250 million a year that we're losing as a result of not getting a good grip on this ordinance, and I would like to see this ordinance come to pass, and we could receive that $250 million a year tax increment. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rosendahl?
And thank you, colleagues, for allowing that public hearing to be opened again. I don't need to go through a whole speech here. I'm just going to vote no, and you've heard all my reasons why at previous times. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. If we can please open the roll on item 2, close the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes, 1 no.
Okay. Next item, please.
Item 11 was called special for cards.
Okay. Item 11, Mr. John Walsh, if you'd like to come forward, and then Dr. Clyde Williams will follow. Good morning.
When the time's up, you tell people to get off, unless they're medical dope dealers. They get a little extra time. Lock up your children. HollywoodHighlands.org. Come to our website. We have a scoop worldwide on who led the demonstration against Obama and their ties to Bill Rosendahl, the gay activists, right-wing gay activists. This has to do with, go to the website, Eric is giving you the name of the website, and find how much money is being totally wasted in the Obama stimulus plan. It's right there. We know what's happening. Or come to HollywoodHighlands.org, where there is a new post up there, was put up a couple of hours ago, about what's happening in this city. Pro-Nazi, someone just got threatened to be arrested because they were too loud. The Nazis were too loud Saturday. You did nothing.
Mr. President, he's not speaking about this item.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Dr. Clyde Williams is next. And he does not seem to be here, so we will go ahead and close the public hearing. If we please open the roll. close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
And the ordinance will go over 1 week.
Yes.
Item 14, called special for cards.
All righty. John Walsh, if you'd like to come back on item number 14 is next. And looks like Dr. Williams has left.
John Walsh, 500,000 hits by the end of the month since September 3rd on Hollywood Highlands, HIGHLANDS.org. I'm going to take 1 minute. The Nazis got a permit to speak here for 1 hour, and it cost the city $1 million in overtime. And I just want to know, I have a right to speak here under the Brown Act and under the First Amendment. I want to know what right they have to be on city property, the Nazis. Nazi tolerant. Jobs Act, fine. All the jobs you want. And let's hire some people to look into why this is the most Nazi tolerant city in America. And I would like to do, since you're
Thank you, sir. If I could ask you about
your hello, sir.
Thank you very much.
Like 3 of
If you don't have anything to say about the stimulus things, thank you very much. All righty, that will close our public comments. Again, just as a final reminder, we ask folks to speak on the item that is before us. In this case, this was on the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. Thank you. That will close our public hearing. Any members wishing to be heard? If not, please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Item 18, called special for cards.
Okay. Item 18 is next. John Walsh, if you'd like to come forward. This is the LED Street Lighting Energy Efficiency Program before us.
John Walsh at HollywoodHighlands.org. I think the city has done a very, very good job on street lighting, especially in Hollywood. The LED, I remember years ago, our street lights used to go out every couple of months. We were constantly calling up. Now this is a city of 4 million people. This is a huge city, larger than many states of the Union. And you have done an excellent job. And I want to say that city workers, unionized people, people that you are starting to talk about taking their pensions away. You know, you're like the teabaggers. Nobody talks about how when the government workers do an excellent job, and Bureau of Street Lighting has done an excellent job, and anybody up here is responsible for that deserves credit. If you do a good job, I tell you we're doing a good job. When you support Nazis, I tell you what you are. HollywoodHighlands.org. 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Any members wishing to be heard on this item?
Mr. President, I do believe there was an amendment by Mr. Parks to delete recommendation 2B.
Okay. Any objection, Mr. Parks?
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
That is confirmed by Mr. Parks. Any other members? If not, this has been a very impressive program. Thank you to the street lighting folks who've been working on this. Seeing no members on the queue, let's go ahead and prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. Do you want to state something on the record, Mr. Ibrahimian?
Good morning, Mr. President, council members. Yes, I have a 1.5-minute video that was created by Discovery Channel on our program and City of Los Angeles, and I would like to show that and invite the council members to see that.
Let's go ahead and roll that real quick. We'll just show it. Thank you.
Los Angeles, California. The movie-making capital of the world knows a little something about lights. The City of Angels has pledged to become the greenest big city in America, starting with cleaning up the night sky. Over the next 5 years, the city will retrofit 140,000 of the city's residential streetlights with LED lights. Once complete, the retrofit will cut streetlight electricity use by 40% and reduce carbon emissions by more than 40,000 tons per year, or the equivalent of taking 6,700 cars off the road. If every major city in the U.S. followed LA's lead, it would be able to eliminate 2.5 coal-fired power plants. Not to mention that no mercury or hazardous materials are contained in the new system. Allowing the future generations of LA to grow up seeing stars.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, the good work, and thank you for sharing that with us. If we can go, Mr. Labange?
Ed, if you had a
We have to reconsider this item. If you want to ask him, we voted on it. I just wanted to...
I know. I just wanted to thank him and everybody in street lighting for what they do to try to make Los Angeles safer and part of the beautiful streetscape of the city. Thank you.
Mr. Labange. Appreciate your words. With that, we'll go to the next item called special, please. Oh, Mr. Zine.
Question, street lighting.
Mr. Zine, do you want to reconsider the item? Then we voted on it. So it was just a video.
We just go over the sidebar, and I have a question for you about street lighting.
Thank you. Thank you. Next item, please.
Item 21, called special for cards.
Okay, item 21 is next before us. Arnold Sachs on item 21, please.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. Arnold Sachs. The reason I held this item is communication from the Board of Water and Power Commissioners. So I wondered, is this the same kind of communication you got regarding this past rate increase that was asked about, that you don't know if it's for 3 months, for 6 months, it's forever and ever? Who's making up these communications that this one you can act on, or you will act on, and you might know what you're doing, yet with a pay or with a rate increase, with a pay raise you'll know what they're doing, but with a rate increase that the public will shoulder, you have no idea. So maybe you can get a communication from the Water and Power Commissioners regarding the communications they send to the City Council, that they can make them in bold letters, 1 or 2, or no more than 4 letters to a word. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. That is our only card on this item. Any members wishing to be heard on item 21? Seeing none, let's go ahead and prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Item 22, called special for cards.
Okay, item 22 is our next one. John Walsh, would you like to come forward on this? And then Dr. Williams, who I think is still gone.
John Walsh, blogging at Hollywood Highlands, HIGHLANDS.org. We're 100% in favor of the agreement you reached between the firefighters and the city. This cleans up some language in it. I just want you to know, we had a fire in the valley yesterday. It was worse than any fire in the valley in decades. That isn't because of the hand of God. That's because of brownouts. 5 buildings. I mean, I'm telling you, this was like Hiroshima. Why? Because you have taken and gotten rid of firefighters. Remember, this is only the beginning of the reign of fire terror. We want the brownouts to end now. You're to blame. The only thing you two agree with, the mayor and you, is brownouts. You're going to block us out. The fire next time, HollywoodHighlands.org. The fire next time, 1 minute.
Thank you. That'll close the public hearing on item 22. If we can please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
And if we can send that and number 2 forthwith, please. Next item, please.
Item 23 was being held for Councilmember Rosendahl, and there are cards on that.
We'll still hold that on the desk. If we can go to item 26, please.
And that was called special for cards.
All right. John Walsh, item 26.
Okay, this is HollywoodHighlands.org, of course. Join us, join the 500,000 visitors. Hollywood Highlands, this is the Hollywood Highland development. Yes, the traffic is terrible there. A woman was hit by a car recently and her leg was torn off. That's how hard she was hit. So you're finally getting some money out of SIM. Of course, you've been pouring money into SIM indirectly for many, many years. Of course, it's near bankruptcy. It's near bankruptcy. The only thing in Hollywood that's new in Hollywood in the past year is the Gil Garcetti parking lot. It's at Hollywood and Vine. They tore down the Howard Johnson building. Go there, take a look at it. We allowed a parking lot to disfigure the most famous intersection in America, thanks to Eric, HollywoodHighland.org.
Thank you, John. With that, we have now this item before us. If we can please open the roll and close the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Thank you, and we look forward to that traffic signal operational improvement plan moving forward. If we can reconsider item 31. I think we had a card from Mr. Bechtel on this. Please open the roll on reconsideration, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay, Mr. Bechtel, if you'd like to come forward on item 31.
Thank you. Thank you for pulling that back up. I wanted to say that I like your resolution to make this week as National Crime Victims Week, but I would hope that the city of Los Angeles and the people of the state and the United States and the world would start to recognize there are other crimes, and one of the most, especially for this city, in the entertainment industry, one of the biggest crimes that there is the theft of intellectual property, either tangible or intangible. I've already stated the fact that I'm a poet or a prophet or whatever you want to call me. I've been ripped off since I was a child. They usually make music with what I say. Oftentimes, though, they also make entire TV programs or entire movies. I've had my photography stolen, especially when I was a child. The most common way of stealing it, and I think many of you here have been victims as well, is when you go to have your photographs developed and you go to pick them up, they say, oh, it was lost. I remember many times, though, the years later, the photographs that supposedly were lost turned up in publications from everything from the Smithsonian Institute to famous photographers. And the one that appalled me the most was a photograph I took of my mother. I was only 4 or 5 years old at the time. We were up at Yosemite, and she had a scarf on, one of those Yosemite scarves that they had in the early 60s. And I took a really good picture, but the picture showed up missing, and this guy stole it, and he gave himself credit for it. And I would hope that the city would begin, and the state and the people would begin to realize there are other crimes and other victims out there, not just the traditional ones that you have been recognizing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bechtel. No problem. Please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. We can go back to 23. I think the issues have been resolved there. Anybody wishing to be heard on 23? If not, let's go ahead and please prepare. Oh,
And you did misspell, you did have cards on that.
sorry, we did have a card. I thought it was just called by Mr. Rosendahl. My apologies. Mr. Sachs and then Mr. Walsh.
Yes, thank you again, Arnold Sachs. While you're addressing the peace officers at LAX, will you also be addressing the peace officers at the harbor, as they, I believe, fall into the same category as the officers at LAX? They're sworn police officers, but they're not sworn LAPD officers. So if they become part of the police force, like had been mentioned in a newspaper article with the General Services Police, will that affect the numbers of police officers in the city? I mean, it will, but you have a ceiling of over like 9,600 or 9,960 police officers. So if you go over that ceiling, will that affect the hiring of new officers, because you'll have exceeded the self-imposed ceiling that you have set for your budget? will that void any kind of agreements you had to hire more police officers? Because if you keep hiring police officers at the expense of every city service, then the only people that will be working will be police officers. And if you go to the library, you can check out a book from your local police officer. Doesn't make sense.
We'll close our public comment on this item. Mr. Rosendahl.
I just want to thank the desk for the president for putting it on the desk so we could resolve some issues. We're ready to go forward
Absolutely.
with it.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
We have the contract before us. If we can please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. And if we can continue item forthwith, please. Item 34 until next Wednesday. And other than that, we can go to the next order of business.
Mr. President, there still is the special meeting before council. Do you wish to recess the regular and go into the special?
Yes, please. Let's go to the special now.
Alarcon, Cardenas, Hahn, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Wesson, Zahn, Garcetti, 10 members present and a quorum.
All right,
This
first order of
is a
business.
one-item agenda. Item 36 is an item for which public hearing has not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration, and there is a card on that.
Okay, Mr. Sachs, if you'd like to come forward on item 36. We'll add Mr. Welsh's name to the record as well.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, or good morning, Arnold Sachs. It's been quite a while since you've had any special event fees listed on your agendas, which is quite a achievement, considering the public would always come forward to discuss the ability of the city to absorb the special event fees. But that's not to say that there aren't other special events being held, specifically the traffic control for the Lakers, the traffic control for the Kings, the traffic control for the Dodgers. Why aren't they being transparently posted for the city to see what those fees are, what those fees were that were neglected to be collected because you had sweetheart deals with the management and the owners of these facilities and teams, that the city would absorb those costs? It would be nice for you to stand up and take responsibility for selling the public out by allowing approximately 4,000 events to occur without incurring any charges to the owners. Thank you.
Thank you. That will close hearing on 36. If no members wish to be heard, let's go ahead and prepare the roll on 36 and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. We can adjourn the special meeting, go back to the regular meeting. Just want to state for the record, I know Mr. Wright, you asked to speak on number 34. We cannot have a quorum on 34 since one of the members I was just informed, has to recuse herself. That would take us under 10, and under the Brown Act, it wouldn't be a meeting. So we cannot take that public hearing today. We would be in violation of the Brown Act to do so. But we will be, because it would only be 9 members, so it would not be an official meeting. So we will, of course, afford you the opportunity to speak. If you want to give general public comment right now, I'm happy to reopen general public comment and have you come forward. Okay, without objection, come forward on general public comment. And as much as possible, because it is general public comment, and this was on the agenda, if you could speak in more general terms on this, because that also is what the Brown Act asks. Thank you.
Thank you, President Garcetti. Daniel Wright, 215 Marengo Avenue, 3rd floor, Pasadena, 91101. On behalf of the South Central Farmers Action Fund and all other plaintiffs, honorable council members, in closed session, apparently next week now, you will be considering whether or not to appeal the judgment and writ issued in the case of South Central Farmers Action Fund versus City of Los Angeles. In that case, the trial court found that the City Council's routine practice of pulling items on a special meeting agenda into the regular meeting and then considering...
I'm sorry to interrupt you. We'll hold your time. Because it's on the agenda, we can't speak specifically on the item, but I was giving you the opportunity to speak in more general terms, either about Brown Act or other things. I'm trying to adhere as closely as possible, and I know that you are somebody who knows the Brown Act. We have to have a quorum for it to be a meeting, for it to be a public hearing. We have a legal requirement for recusal of our 10th member. That would take it to 9. So for general public comment, I'm happy to open that for general complaints or whatever to be heard, but things that are on the agenda but not under our jurisdiction is what our general public comment is for. Okay. If you could adhere to that.
I don't disagree with anything you said. However, I do believe that we can still talk about an issue that's coming before this body in the future, and I don't think that you can cut me off. So as I was trying to explain, you're going to be considering this case that involves a technique of transferring an item from a special meeting agenda onto the regular meeting agenda and then considering and approve it in the regular meeting, systematically depriving the public of the required 72 hours notice for items pulled onto the regular meeting agenda with only 24 hours notice. In addition, that particular case, the trial court found that the city clerk's routine practice of sanitizing the official records of the city by failing to include in the official journal of proceedings the shifting between regular and special meetings, as you've been doing today, to be inconsistent with the clerk's mandatory duties under Charter Section 281C to attend city council meetings and make an accurate record of the proceedings. And finally, the trial court found that the clerk's routine fabrication of special meeting motions to adjourn by council members and the insertion of a false roll call vote to adjourn to be a violation of Charter Section 281C as well. We'll have an opportunity to discuss these in further detail next week, and I hope that you'll listen carefully when we come and speak again. Thank you, council members, and have a good day.
You too. Thank you, Mr. Wright. That'll close our general public comment. And if we can go to the next order of business, please.
Mr. President, I did believe there was a request originally on item 33 to continue that to May 7th, but now the date to be changed to May 5th, which would be a Wednesday.
All righty. Without objection, we'll go ahead and continue to that. We've had public comment, sir, and you've been involved in it already. That was for general public comment. He had not given general public comment. We can only have 2 minutes per speaker per meeting. Next order of business.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Okay, those are posted and referred.
There are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Garcetti, request to be excused Tuesday, May 11th, to leave at 12:15 for city business. That meets council policy.
All right, that excuse is granted.
And Councilmember Perry, request to be excused Tuesday, June 1st, to leave at 11:30, and for the entire meeting of Friday, April 30th, both for city business and both meet council policy.
Okay. She is excused as well.
That clears the desk.
All right. Next, any announcements? Mr. Labange?
With our sister city of Vancouver, we'll have a kickoff of the Get to Know program, Canadian program, by effort to make people aware of our natural resources in North America, in the Canadian area, as well as in the United States.
Thank you. I know Mr. Reyes is out today, but tomorrow in the Historic State Park, also known as the Cornfields, I'm not sure which number, I think it's probably the 6th or 7th by now, Grilled Cheese Invitational will be there. It's a great, great event where thousands of people come out, and chefs from all around Los Angeles make grilled cheese sandwiches in 3 different categories. There's the straightforward sandwiches that are known as the missionary category. We've got other ones which are more complex, and then there's a dessert category as well. So look forward to folks coming out. It is a great, great Los Angeles event. I won't name what the other 2 categories are, but they're pretty exciting as well. So come on out if you love grilled cheese and love good LA cuisine. Mr. Rosendahl.
Yeah, 2 announcements, colleagues. First, LMU on Saturday. The Gay Straight Alliance is having its first set of concerts on the campus. It's a historic first for LMU to show that great respect and support of the gay and lesbian community. Hats off to the gay and lesbian community of LMU and also to the university. So if you're interested, come to LMU at 2 o'clock tomorrow, and you'll have a lot of fun. Secondly, on Sunday, Mar Vista, which has demonstrated to the city that it is one of the most green, sustainable strategies in the country, are having a garden tour where folks can actually see, there's over 100 folks who have taken their yards and changed it around. That will be an inspiration for everybody. If you're interested in the Sunday tour, come to the Farmers Market on Grandview between Venice Avenue there near the post office, and you get details from a booth that the neighborhood council puts up that outlines that. It would be a wonderful Sunday experience for you to get part and get involved in that aspect as well. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Zine, and then Mr. Parks.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Walk for Autism tomorrow, starting at 9 a.m. at the Rose Bowl, a major fundraiser for the Autism Society. Also tomorrow at 11, Canoga Park Farmers Market, grand opening of the first Farmers Market in Canoga Park, All-American City. That's going to be on Owens Mouth between Sherman Way and Wyandotte. Everyone's invited. And another event that Ms. Krikorian, I'm sure you're going to be at, we will join you at the Armenian Genocide Remembrance Commemoration event at Montebello Monument in Montebello. Also, the event on Sunday is Pierce College Farm Walk, 11 a.m., and also the 62nd Israel Independence Day at Woodley Park at 1A. It starts 10 to 7. The ceremony will be at 1 at Woodley Park, and events for people to participate in this weekend. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Parks.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to announce, and colleagues, we've given everybody several copies of this. From April 27th to May 3rd, the LA Sports Arena at 3939 Figueroa will be transformed into a medical facility in which free dental, vision, and medical service will be provided. But what's most important is that those who are interested in taking advantage of that is that on a one-day basis, Sunday, April the 25th, you must go there and pick up your armband. Without an armband, you can't come into the facility. And what they're doing this for is to make sure that people who are in ill health do not spend the night in the park trying to get in on the several days of this process. So on one day only, on the 25th, you pick up your band to be able to be allowed in the facility. Also, I'd like to announce that Expo Line Light Rail will be having a project status on the downtown to mid-quarter, Thursday, April 29th, 6:30 to 8 o'clock, and it's going to be at Holman United Methodist Church, 3320 West Adams, and that's LA 90018.
I'd like to correct the record, and Mr. Koretz, I know you were inquiring about it. The Grilled Cheese Invitational does start at noon, but it is not the Cornfields this year. It is actually over at LA Center Studios at 1201 West 5th Street. Everybody who loves grilled cheese, it's from 12 to 6 p.m., so we'll see you there. Mr. Alarcon.
I want to invite everybody to participate in a American Cancer Society event that's being held at Olive Vista Middle School. Although I don't think they're going to have grilled cheese, they will be raising money to prevent cancer. This is called a Relay for Life. The interesting thing about this is it is a 24-hour event. So for those of you who might benefit by walking for 24 hours straight, or if you can put a team together, as my office has, to walk over the period of 24 hours straight to raise money to benefit cancer survivors and cancer victims. This will be at Olive Vista Middle School, 14600 Tyler Street in Sylmar. It begins at 9 a.m., the opening ceremony, but will go all the way till April 25th, 9 a.m. So if you have nothing to do, please come and raise money for a good cause. For more information, you should call Angelina Acedo at 818-744-6022 or Fabian Garcia at 818-371-6812. This is truly a community event. I believe it was started by cancer survivors to raise money for American Cancer Society. So please come out to the Relay for Life in Sylmar 2010.
Thank you. Any other announcements, colleagues? If not, do we have any adjourning motions today? Okay, if I can ask everybody in council chambers to please rise for adjourning motions. Mr. Alico.
Council members, I'm sure you heard about the crash of an LAPD patrol car in Sylmar into the car driven by a young mother who was killed at the scene. Giovanna Lugo was a person who always put her family first. The Daily News has a very good article on her, so I will just read from that. On Wednesday, that philosophy of putting her family first put her on a fatal path with an LAPD cruiser on a busy Sylmar street. She was making a short trip to her sister's house to pick up visiting relatives for an evening of hot chocolate and bread at her home. It was too cold for them to walk, so Lugo offered to pick them up. Her husband Julio stayed home watching their 2-year-old son, Leonardo. After all, she was coming right back. She never made it, her father, Jesse Lugo, said Thursday. So instead of huddling over mugs of sweet drinks, Lugo's family rushed to the 2000 block of North Glen Oaks Boulevard, where they were greeted by crumpled metal, police tape, and paramedics. Police say Lugo was making a U-turn mid-block on Glen Oaks Boulevard, and I want to clarify that it's not necessarily illegal to make a U-turn on that street unless you're not in the median. But that's for the investigation to determine. In any case, the police car was heading northbound on Glen Oaks Boulevard when it hit Lugo's blue 2004 Toyota Corolla. She died at the scene. The 2 police officers suffered moderate injuries and were taken to a local hospital, and obviously authorities continue to investigate. So a day later, dozens of friends and family gathered at the house where Giovanna was supposed to pick up her relatives, and afternoon rain only added to the day's sadness. The mourners looked numb, trying to understand how a 27-year-old girl with so many dreams could be gone. She was a motivator, her brother Alex Lugo said. She pushed everyone forward. She was a North Hollywood High School graduate and earned her business degree from UC Riverside in 2005. She told her brother, education is the way to go. After college, Lugo became the office manager for her father's general contracting company, EJ Exteriors, handling all the financial aspects of the business. She came into the room and automatically made everybody feel comfortable. Jesse Lugo said it was her smile, the glow she had. It was easy to appreciate, but hard to describe. When her father suggested she spread her wings and find work outside the family business, she protested. Family first. Besides, she loved taking Leonardo to work with her. The toddler would even go with her to pull permits at municipal offices. Her husband, Julio, could hardly find the words to describe his wife of 5 years. I love her so much, he said as tears fell from his swollen eyes. Leonardo doesn't understand now, but he will be fine, his father said. He's really strong, like his mama. On Thursday morning, he and his father-in-law talked about Leonardo's future and how they will help him be an astronaut, engineer, or doctor, anything he wants. It's a promise they've made to Giovanna that they will fulfill her dreams for her son, family first. On Sundays, the Lugo family traditionally gets together at Tres Hermanos restaurant in downtown San Fernando. They gather at Sister Jessica's house to watch some soccer. Giovanna, a rabid Chivas Guadalajara fan, could be counted on to cheer her Mexican team on to victory. This Sunday is going to be different, her father said. The tradition will have to take a hiatus, but it will return. Just remembering her makes me stronger, Jesse Lugo said. That's Giovanna. Giovanna is survived by her parents, Maria and Jesse Lugo, sisters Jessica and Myra Lugo, brother Alex Lugo, husband Julio Jimenez, and son Leonardo Jimenez. Funeral arrangements are pending. Anyone with information about the collision is urged to call the Valley Traffic Investigators at 818-644-8021. I also want to say that I want to publicly say thank you to Congressman Berman's office, who we reached out to and asked to assist with family members who would like to get expedited visas to be able to attend the services. She is survived by her husband, Julio, and her 2-year-old son, many family members. The services, I don't have the information of the services, but we will keep you informed. My office will have that information if anybody desires it. I also have an adjourning motion for a friend, Araceli Sanchez. She is the mother of a longtime contractor with the city of Los Angeles, Rita Montoya, wife of Julian Montoya. They're the owners of Burger King, and they had a long-term contract with the Rec and Parks Department. Anyway, Araceli Sanchez died at the age of 91, passed away at home surrounded by family after struggling with cancer. She was born on February 18, 1919 in Cuba, and in 1959 she and her family emigrated from Cuba when Fidel Castro took over. They moved to Memphis, Tennessee to live with a cousin, and while in Memphis she worked at the Lowenstein department store in their alterations department. In 1963, Araceli's sister, who was the last to leave Cuba, moved to Los Angeles. Araceli's, her husband Manuel, and their two daughters, Rita and Manuela, came to visit Los Angeles. They then decided to move from Memphis to make Los Angeles their home. Araceli's went to work at Bullock's Wilshire in their men's and wedding alterations department. She worked there until they closed. She then worked at a cleaner's in Century City where many famous people, including Jerry Lewis, used to frequent. Having never driven, her husband Manuel would drive her to and from work every day. When Manuel took sick, Araceli's, who was 71 years old, retired to take care of him. Araceli's and Manuel Sanchez expressed their gratitude to the United States for allowing them to reach the American dream. She was an absolute lover she loved the United States of America for helping her and her family. She was a great and caring mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother. She will truly be missed by her daughters, Rita and Manuela, her 4 grandsons, 2 granddaughters, 5 great-grandsons, and 4 great-granddaughters. May she rest in peace. Her services will be celebrated April 29th at St. Francis of Assisi in Silver Lake, and she was very happy. She had a very happy life. We should all be blessed with such a long and prosperous life. May she rest in peace, Araceli Sanchez.
Thank you. Mr. Labange.
Members, I think we all should join in the adjournment of Juan Antonio Samarans, the chief of the Olympic Games from 1980 to 2001. He was 89. Born in Spain, he loved his work. He also provided the stability that was necessary for the Olympic movement. As we may recall, in the 76 games, the 80 games, and 84, all were in challenging times. He helped turn it around and became president just in the 1980 period, where he helped shepherd in the 84 games here in Los Angeles. Peter Ueberroth said he is truly a remarkable individual for taking an institution that had very little worth and very little direction and making it arguably one of the 2 or 3 most powerful non-governmental organizations in the world. A large part of his effort was to bring into the third world people who had not participated. Also to bring in women. In the Games of Los Angeles in 84 was the first time women ever competed in the marathon. As our very own Anita DeFrance said, he was the president of inclusion, which is so important. A tremendous individual. He remained a very special man throughout his years. He survived by his son and daughter. His wife preceded in his death. I also will say yesterday our superintendent of schools and others gathered at the Contreras High School where they announced the funding for our sports program. That funding came from the legacy of the 84 games, which is Patrick Escobar and Anita DeFrance supervised. So again, the legacy of Los Angeles 84 games, which Tom Bradley and John Ferraro brought together, continues as the efforts of many. So we salute Juan Antonio Samarans in his life. May he rest in peace.
Thank you. Any other adjourning motions? Mr. Parks?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask all members to join me in a request that we adjourn in memory of Reverend Benjamin Lawson Hooks, who was born in 1925, passed away April 15, 2010. Reverend Hooks was 85 years old. He's a lawyer and a Baptist minister. He became famous for leading lunch counter sit-ins during the 60s and was the longtime head of NAACP as it struggled to find its way in the post-civil rights era. The Tennessee-born Reverend Hooks liked to call himself a poor little old country preacher, but was considered a charismatic orator and with a gift for evoking the daily humiliations of life under segregation. In his career, which spanned over 6 decades, he achieved many milestones. In '65, he became the first black judge to sit on the bench in Tennessee State Court since Reconstruction. In '72, he became the first black member of the FCC, where he championed minority ownership of television and radio. In addition, he ministered 2 Baptist churches, one in Memphis and one in Detroit, and was on the board of Martin Luther King's Southern Christian Leadership Conference. He had a variety of successes in the civil rights world, but probably the one that's most significant to him is his last issue in which he was awarded by the United States government under President George Bush the President's Medal of Freedom, which is the highest civilian honor, and he was given that award in November 2007. His memorial services are pending.
You want to put all members?
Yes, all members.
Thank you. We'll put all members on that. Any other adjourning motions? If not, Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll? We'll next be in session this coming Tuesday. That is April 27th? 6th? 27th at 10 a.m. We'll look forward to seeing you all then. Have a great weekend. At 11 o'clock, not 10 o'clock, just to remind folks because of the funeral for Jesus. See you at 11 o'clock on Tuesday.